Hi, I'm Jason, broker owner of Starr Realty, and today we have another guest speaker, Jen McCall of Total Mortgage, and I am going to ask her about property red flags when it comes to financing. Hi, Jen. Thanks for coming.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So, what are some red flags a property can send up when it comes to financing?
Yeah, so there can be some. I always tell people in general to pay attention to the three S's. So safety, structural soundness, and the systems of the home. If you can remember that, it's an easy way. So safety concerns, that could be missing handrails. I've seen second floor balcony doors that go off into nowhere. There's a missing deck sometimes. That's a safety concern. Structural soundness, that could be, crumbling foundations, evidence of pest infestations, that could be a structural, potentially a structural concern. And the systems of the home typically need to all be functioning. So the major systems, the plumbing, the heating, the electrical, the three S's is a good way to, sort of think about it. And that goes for any type of financing, really. People think that, the government loans like FHA or VA, don't allow any sort of property red flags, and that other types of financing does. Generally speaking, if it's a concern for one, it's a concern for all types of financing, unless you're talking about a fixer-upper loan or a renovation loan.
What options does a buyer have if they come across some of these issues with a home? And can you either fixer-upper loans?
Yeah, so let's say one of the three S's, an issue comes up after the application has been in process. Let's say it comes up as a result of the appraisal report, and it's something that is a concern for financing and causes a pause in the transaction. They can either ask the sellers to remedy the situation if that's an easy fix. They can
That's my job.
And that typically would have to be done prior to closing. There are some exceptions to this rule, but primarily if it's one of those safety concerns, if that's the S we're talking about, then that usually does need to be addressed prior to closing. Some of the others potentially could be done after closing, but so repair is one of the solutions. And a second solution would be to convert that mortgage from a regular or a traditional, in air quotes, mortgage to a renovation loan, and wrap any repairs into your financing. So finance the repairs, but that does mean sort of switching gears on the type of mortgage that we're talking about.
Is there a specific name for that type of loan? Like, it's not a bridge loan. It's another.
Typically, we would call it a reno loan or a renovation loan. If it's a government loan, you hear it sometimes referred to as a 203K. That's the FHA's designation for a renovation loan.
Is there any additional fees associated with a fixer-upper loan, reno loan?
Yeah, there could be. Typically, it's, again, depending on what we're talking about, whether it's a small repair or a more sizable repair, there could be some additional funds that are held, because what happens in those cases is you would have to get the buyer would have to get a quote for repair. And usually there's an amount that's held over and above that initial quote, just in case you find something unexpected in the course of repairing whatever the problem is. So there could be some additional funds needed, but it also is, for most folks, if it's something that really does need to be addressed, they're happy to do that and move into a home with that taken care of, rather than, hanging over their heads after the fact.
Would you like to give everybody your contact information?
Yes, absolutely. So best way to find me is probably my website. It's jenthelender.com, and Jen is with one N. Or email is also great, jmccall@totalmortgage.com, and it's MCCALL.
Great, wonderful. And for those listening, I've been using Jen for over 20 years, and I've never had a single complaint from any client. So she does an incredible job. Anyway,
Thank you.
As I end everything, thank you, Jen, for coming. Thank you all for watching. Time is our most valuable asset, and I certainly appreciate you spending some of yours with me. Thank you. Be well.
Take care.